welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this really cute coffin box out of resin. Stay tuned and I will show you how to do it. Hey y'all, let us get started. So what we're making today is I'm making this cute little coffin trinket box. I'm going to be making it out of resin. A lot of y'all have asked me to make more resin videos. So I am, but if you look down in the description box, I'll also pin a comment. I have a section of my Amazon shop set up with all of the supplies that I use in this video and in previous videos. I highly, highly recommend this brand of resin here. I'll get into why here in a little bit. But yeah, I do have all of that set up for you so that there's no guesswork. You can just go there and get all of your stuff. So this beautiful little coffin mold came from Let's Resin. And yes, like I said, I have that in my Amazon shop as well. What I like about this is it comes with a very sturdy bag. It comes with the coffin mold, and then you also get 3 additional little molds with it. Now, the small ones are for decoration. So once you make, your coffin, then you also make whichever design you want, and then you can glue it to the lid just for a little something, something, Now, when you're making resin crafts, you want it to be setting perfectly level because, see, these are very squishy, and if you pick them up, then you're gonna squish them, especially this lid here. Then you're gonna squish it and mess it up. So I put it on, like this is just a pizza pan, or you want to put it on a tray or something so that you can pick it up and move it out of the way and put it someplace safe, because these are gonna have to cure I let mine cure for like 24 hours before I even attempt to take them out of the mold. This is not UV resin, so I'm not curing it with the UV light. They do just need to set out and get hard. So anyway, I have the resin, I have the mold, and I have my colorant. I'm not going to be putting any glitter in here at all, so I am just going to be mixing up my resin and then using this colorant. And it's a beautiful purple color. Now, one of the main reasons that I like this particular type of resin is there's no particular measuring. As long as you put equal parts together, it will work out just fine. So you have the hardener and then you have the actual resin. Now, this particular mold here holds a little over 3 ounces. So what I'm going to do, I always like to mix up a little bit more than what I think I need, just in case. So for this, I'm going to put, let's see, I'm going to put like 1.5 ounces of resin, 1.5 ounces of hardener. And yes, this is a disposable measuring cup. Like I said, I have all of that stuff in my Amazon shop for y'all to go take a look at. So just measuring. Set it down flat. Don't hold it up and try to measure it. All right. And if you don't have this like exactly measured 100% correctly, it's okay. All right, it's okay. Don't freak out about it. All right, so I'm just looking here. Measure. There we go. So that is 3 ounces total. 3 ounces total. So that is what we know that I'm trying to get another measuring cup here. This is just something that I do. Y'all don't have to do this. That 3 ounces right there is what our mold will hold. So now I'm going to measure just a little bit more. I'm going to put in like 30 milliliters more just to make sure, because sometimes it will stick to the sides of the cup and you can't get all of it out. So now I'm going to measure just a little bit here. But like I said, that mold will hold 3 ounces. So you want to measure out 1.5 ounces of each of your ingredients here. All right, let's put the lid back on. Measure that. There we go. And I'm just going to dump that in there, and that's going to give us just a little bit extra. All right. Set that over there, throw it away a little bit. And now you want to stir this together. I'm just using a wooden popsicle stick. Stir this together until it is well combined, a good 3 minutes, okay? Because this is a lot of resin. And you want to make sure that it is all mixed together really, really well. If not, it is not going to harden. It's not going to set up properly. So what I was saying about what I like about this brand of resin, it is clear. I know it doesn't look clear in the cup, but once it hardens up, it is clear. It levels itself. It doesn't turn yellow. You really have a long working time before it starts to get sticky and so gooey that you can't pour it. Pretty much about 40 minutes to 45 minutes. It's not flammable. E6000, the glue, E6000 smells stronger than this. There is basically, to me, there is no odor to this. It is VOC friendly. VOC friendly. VOC free. VOCs are volatile organic compounds that can cause lung issues and things like that. This resin does not contain any of those. So, and it's made here in the United States. So I'm going to keep stirring this, stirring. And then once I get it stirred all together, then we're going to put in some colorant. Okay, so I have all of that stirred together. This has been a good 3 minutes. And I've picked out this purple colorant here. I'll go into all of the different types of colorants later on, but this is a really good, really opaque resin dye. There are thinner colors, you know, that you can mix all together, but like I said, I'm not going to confuse you with that. We'll get into that later. So I'm just going to put a few drops in here. And then I'm going to stir it up and we'll see how it kind of just stays like in a little blob right there until you start stirring it up. The thinner colors, as soon as you drop it into your resin, it starts to disperse. And that wasn't what I was going for here. So I'm just going to stir. I think I'm going to put in a little bit more. You just keep putting in color until you're happy, you know, with how it looks. Oh yeah, that's better. Ooh, look at that beautiful color. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Pretty, pretty, pretty. So I'm going to stir this together for a good minute, okay? A good full minute just to make sure everything is together and mixed, and then I'm going to pour it into the mold. All right, so I think this is pretty much stirred up. So when I talked about how much resin this mold will hold, I'm going to pour now. When I talk about how much it will hold, let me tell you how I kind of try to determine that. I use this method when I'm making candles, or I'm going to make melt and pour soap, or, you know, I'm using resin molds. What I do is I fill the mold up with water, and then I pour that water into a measuring cup, and then see how much, you know, it held. And that's been a pretty good method for me. It's worked very well over the years. All right, so now I'm going to pour it into the actual like little box part. And this can be kind of thick, and you can see it kind of oozing down the sides there. You want to make sure. Quit dripping. Oh, I got it on my hand. Look at that. Which I do quite often. That's why I have my wipes over here. If y'all know me, you know that I can't stand wearing gloves. I absolutely hate gloves. I wear them only if I absolutely have to. And yes, I'm sure somebody out there is going to try to come on here and give me a lecture about wearing masks and gloves. You do you, I'll do me. Thank you. But I just like to slam the tray down a little bit to make sure that you get it down to the bottom all the way around. So now I'm going to pour just a little bit more. Don't pour too much, because then you might overflow your mold, and that ain't cool. I usually make a pretty good mess with this stuff when I'm using it. All right. So just continue pouring here. Now, all of those little bubbles, you can either use 90% rubbing alcohol and just spray on them, and they'll dissipate, or you can use a heat gun. You can use a heat gun. I have a heat gun over here. And then you can just blast them with a heat gun, and it'll take all those bubbles right out. So I'm just going to continue pouring here. And yes, I do like to pour slowly on some things. All right, my mold is just about full. So now I'm going to pour into the lid, and then I'm going to mix up some resin to go in these here. So let me pop all these little bubbles, and then I'll be back. Okay, I just wanted to show y'all a few minutes of me using my heat gun. As you can see, it has taken away all of the bubbles. So now I'm just going to spin this around. You spin me right round, baby. All right, there we go. So now I don't know exactly what I want to put on here. You know, I might want to put these cute little bats. But then again, I'm looking at this skeleton hand, and I'm like, you know, let's just put the bats. So I thought I had my black dye out here. Here it is. And you really want to shake this up, especially this black. This black, and it might just be the batch that I got, but it seems like the black resin has like really thickened up on me. So you always want to shake up your colorants. As you can see here, they separate. See this clear stuff, and then here's like all of your pigment here. You really, really want to shake these up to make sure that they're well mixed. Now, I don't know, I can't remember. I think I had it written down, but I can't really remember exactly how much these little ones hold. So I'm just going to go out on a limb here with one of my tiny little measuring cups. And this is, like I said, 30 milliliter. I think I'm just going to fill this cup up, and I think that's going to be way too much, but it is what it is. All right. Where am I thinking? Oh, here it is. All right. So with the resin, we're going to do half and half, like I said earlier. 15 milliliter with this one, and then 15 with the other. Now, some of them have some really weird resin to hardener ratios. I've seen some like 70-30, and I don't like that because that's more math than I feel like doing. So this, that, you know, everything is measured equally, I really do appreciate. Right up to that line. All right, so now I'm going to mix. I'm going to put the colorant in, and then I'm going to pour it into the little bat molds. All right, so this has been mixed pretty well. And it's going to be difficult to pour this into the mold. When you're working with small things like this, it can get pretty tricky. So, you know, you can just take your popsicle stick here, whatever you're using to stir, and just kind of drizzle it in. Like I said, this kind of, and I mixed up way too much of this. So I'm going to have to, I'll put some in some of these other molds over here. But yeah, with these small molds, if you just pour it in there, sometimes it can overflow. And like I said earlier, this one is self-leveling. So it does a pretty good job of filling in all the little nooks and crannies. Just be careful, especially on these, like with these little bat wings, because they have all of these little, like the little spiky parts. You want to make sure that you get your resin down in there. Now, if you accidentally overflow your mold, don't worry about it. Just, I don't even mess with even trying to clean it up unless I've made a big mess. But once you pop them out of the mold, you can use like a nail file, a piece of sandpaper, a Dremel tool, whatever you have. You can use that to just sand away or buff away any little straggly bits of resin. All right. I'm just trying to push that into all of the little spiky parts. So you know what? I don't want to waste this, so I'm going to try to scoot this over without making too big of a mess or spilling it everywhere. You see all the little bubbles? Once I finish filling these up, I'll come back with my heat gun again, and I'll get all these little bubbles out. Again, a good point of this resin is you have at least a 40 to 45 minute working time. So you can fill up a pretty good amount of molds and then, you know, come back with your heat gun or alcohol or whatever and blast out all the little bubbles. But I am going to do that. I'm going to fill these up, get rid of the bubbles, and then I'm going to let them cure for at least a good 24 hours. And then we will unmold them. Anyway, I wanted to come back and show y'all this skeleton hand that I'm working on. I know this video's been long enough. I'm out of, they're called pipettes, like these little dropper syringes. That's usually what I would use in such a predicament as this, because you see how tiny these fingers are. But what I'm doing is I'm just taking my popsicle stick here. Let's get a little bit. And I'm kind of like just glopping it on to the main part. And then I'm taking this toothpick and just kind of trying to guide it down the fingers. And so this is a really good trick, you know, if you run out of pipettes or if you just don't want to buy them. It does take a little bit more work, but it does work in a pinch. So anyway, sorry, just wanted to come back and show y'all that. Okay, my friends, so this should be fully set up. It has been 24 hours, and this resin takes 24 hours to harden up enough to be handled. And it needs to actually cure for an entire 72 hours before, you know, you can use it, depending on what you're making and the humidity and the heat in your building or home. This has been sitting here, like I said, for 24 hours, and it is pretty solid. But when I take it out, I'll just let it sit over there for, like I said, a full 72 hours before I start messing with it. So now, as you can see, I had moved my tray and I bumped this and knocked a little bit of the resin out. And it hit the table, well, hit the tray right there. But it's okay because, see, it just peels right off of the mold. And that's why I like using these pizza pans as a tray. Because even though I spilled some right here, you can take like a spatula or something and just pop it right off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosen up the mold all the way around on the edges. Loosen, loosen, loosen. And then as I loosen, see, I'm just pulling it a little bit more towards the center. I do that because I have ripped a mold before, but just grabbing it, you know, and trying to pop out the resin, I've ruined my mold. So, ooh, pretty, pretty, pretty. See that beautiful purple swirly metallic stuff in there? Yep, there's the lid. All right, our beautiful little coffin. This is a coffin. Don't confuse it with a casket. You see how it's narrow, wide, and then narrow, the traditional shape here, narrow, wide, narrow. This is a coffin. A casket is one full shape. I used to work at a cemetery, and for a long time I really, really wanted to be a mortician, so yeah, that was my thing. All right, so now I'm going to pull this apart. Now with deep items like this, like with boxes, you can kind of look at the mold and see that it's starting to pull apart. Okay. Now these could be a little bit tricky. Like I said, I don't just want to start trying to pop it out. You just have to be gentle because I really don't want to break another mold. And these are silicone. I mean, you can flip them inside out and all that. It's not going to hurt them. Just trying to work it around like this. There we go. And there's our little box. And here's our mold. Just flip it. Get your finger stuck in it. And then there's our mold. So there's nothing on here. Doesn't look like there's any lint or anything. So when you order your molds, they come in these little bags. I highly suggest keeping your molds in the bags that they come in. It protects them from dust and cats and feral children and all that, you know. I'm just going to put it back into this bag and zip it up, and then I keep it in a storage container over here. All right, so I went ahead and popped out the skeleton hand because I wasn't exactly sure if it was going to come out right, but it is beautiful. It came out just right. This one can be tricky because you see how skinny those fingers are? Very, very tricky. So let's go for the little owl. I could zoom in. Hello. Zoom in and make it a little easier for y'all to see. Oh, look at him. Why are you not focusing? Why are you doing this? You know what? I might have to zoom back out and then try to get it to focus. Oh my God, it's like my kids. That ain't going to focus when I tell it to. There we are. There we are. But isn't that cute? Our little owl fella. What's the detail on these molds? I loves it. Now here come the bats. Now when you glue these on, you can use E6000. You can use some sort of epoxy. I'm out of E6000, so I have this, gosh, what is up with this camera today? So I have this Gorilla Clear Grip. That's what I'm going to be using. Ooh, it's sticky. It's like my kid. Why are you always so sticky? But anyway, let's take a look at our little batty bats. As you can see, these popped out really well. My camera's just acting weird today. There we go. So let's set that over there. And now that this is done, I said I wanted to put, let's feel if this is sticky. I think I want to put the bats on here. I think that's what I wanted to do. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a big old blob of the of this adhesive on there. There we go. And glue it down. I don't know. I'm liking the skeleton hand too now. I'm going to have to make some more of these just so that I can put these on something. Yeah. How cute is that? And that's what it would look like with the little owl. And take that off, and that's what it would look like with the little skeleton hand. But yeah, if you would, you can look down in the description box and I'll pin a comment once again to my Amazon shop where you can find all of this stuff that you would need to make your own. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue this down and then leave it sitting here, and that will be that. Or do I want to do the skeleton hand? You see how I do myself? Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this one. If you would, please give this video a thumbs up. Click subscribe. Check me out on other forms of social media, the links to all of which will be in the description box down below. And I hope to see y'all next time. Bye.